I'd say closer to 7. Um, different time, different place. I was running with a bunch of friends, and I had recently seen a movie called C.C. Rider. It starred Joe Namath, and it was a biker movie, something about the Hells Angels. The details of the movie I can't remember at all. I just remember Joe Namath was in it, and I remember my first experience was seeing motorcycle gang, Hells Angels. I'm from a Midwest town. I'm like, wow, they're cool. I want to be a Hells Angel. Now I'm 7, you know. So I get on my little Schwinn Stingray with the 3-speed right there on the boy nut crusher bar, and I'll drive around the neighborhood. I put on cowboy boots so I would look cool. And I'm driving around going brum, 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 brum. And then somebody showed me how to put a clothespin and a playing card in my spokes and make the brrrr sound, you know. And I was a real biker. I was almost a real biker. Wasn't a full-on biker because they wore helmets. Those really cool helmets. Well, the closest thing I had to one of those was a little Hutch fake football uniform thing. So I grabbed my football helmet and I put that on my head and I rode around the neighborhood. And I had a gang, a bunch of us guys. We had there were 7 of us. And the oldest guy was like 12. And we would run around the neighborhood. You know, we were bikers. We were bad. Brrr, the cards and the spokes going. And one day, as we're riding around the neighborhood, being our gang, I can't even remember what the name of the gang was. I mean, come on, I was 7. A little girl comes running out. She must have been about 5, out of her house over I don't even remember the neighbor's house, but somebody who probably knew her older brother or something. Or for all I know, her older brother was in the gang of 7 Hells Angels on bikes. And she runs out of the house, and we're riding by her house. She's going, "Hey! Hey! You want my daddy's checkbook?" Yeah, we like your daddy's checkbook. You know, we're kids. We know any better. We don't realize that that's, you know, not going to be a good thing, but it was just strange. She just offered it. It wasn't like we were stealing it. She said, "Do we want it?" And we're like, "Well, sure, yeah, you got your daddy's checkbook, bring it to us." She runs back in the house, and she comes out with her daddy's checkbook. I guess he must have been sleeping on the couch or something. I don't know. And she hands it to us. And like in my gut, I'm thinking, this ain't right. You know, I mean, we didn't really steal it, but I got a feeling it's bad news. So I'm like, let's get out of here, let's go. And we pedal as fast as we can. We get out of there. We go over to the oldest kid's house, the 12-year-old's house, and we go back in the garage. Then we're all running around because we know we're all feeling guilty. The adrenaline's pumping and everything. But we're like, we got to check, we got to write a check, and get some money. So we write down, and because we took it to the 12-year-old's house because he was the only one of us that knew how to write cursive. Remember, we're like really young kids. So he gets in there and he tries to write, and he writes it to the local grocery store, Maloli's, you know, and I can imagine how good his writing was, being a 12-year-old. Writes, and then but he looks around and he goes, "How much do I write it for, guys?" And we think, and look around, and I'm looking at everybody, and I see there's 7 of us. So I say, "Write it for $7." Everybody was like, "Yeah, $7." So he writes out a check for $7. And so we all pedal on up to Maloli's, right? And he's the oldest one. He's 12. He goes up to the customer service there, to the manager or whoever the guy was, the teller behind the customer service thing, and he hands him the check. And he says, "I'd like to cash his check, please." And I can just imagine what the guy thought when he looks at this check, and his 12-year-old handwriting on a check for $7 to Maloli's. And he sees the check, because we're all standing around like this behind the 12-year-old waiting for to cash the check so we can each of us get $1, you know. So the guy takes the check and says, "This is your dad, huh?" "Yeah, yeah." Well, I don't even think he knew his name or anything. He goes, "I'll be right back," you know. And he calls him on the phone, calls the dad on the phone. Well, obviously, you know, the story goes on, and it was the dad's checkbook, and we weren't the kids, and we, you know. all 7 of us would have been taken to jail and charges would have been pressed. You'd have seen it in the news. We'd had to get lawyers and all that. That's, you know, in 2012. Back in 1960, all the parents come and pick up each kid. They call each parent's home, you know. And the guy gets his checkbook back. He didn't press charges or anything like that. There was the scariest, longest, like 20 minutes of my life waiting at Maloli's for my mom to come pick me up and take me home, and then she was going to have to tell Dad. And it was one of the few times that I ever got an ass whooping. Old Pipe Pops was none too pleased. I was so scared straight by that I've never committed fraud since. I've never committed forgery since, and I don't think I've even bounced a check. So there's my entry into your contest, Jay, and I hope I win. So peace out, everybody. I'm gonna quit doing that. I'm gonna find a good tag. That's all I got to say about that. Keep on puffing. I'll present the evidence. No, I can't do that. That's not mine. That would be plagiarism. And I'm already in enough trouble for forgery.